All right, let's start off with today's news about Hunter Biden. He has been indicted on 3 gun charges. Nothing really that relates to the investigation that they're conducting on Capitol Hill into his business dealings and whether or not we have a president that's a crook. But your reaction to the fact that Hunter Biden now apparently will face 3 gun charges that, if he was convicted and given the maximum penalties, would put him in prison for 25 years.
Yeah, I mean, and so what's interesting, and I think people are beginning to realize, we clearly have a 2-tier justice system, and so what's happened is, the walls are closing in on the Biden family, but that's because conservatives like me and conservatives like Jim Jordan, we just won't stop. We keep fighting, we keep pushing, and what it's doing, it's boxing in this prosecutor or this district attorney. And so, but what you're going to see, I think, is, and this is a prediction, and so I know it's not specific to the gun charge, but even Nancy Pelosi, she was on Anderson Cooper, was talking about the fact that, when asked whether or not Biden was going to be the nominee, she hedged. And so the walls are closing in on the Biden family. But look, he purchased a Colt Cobra revolver. He said he wasn't on drugs, but he was. He carried a firearm with under the influence of cocaine, both of which are crimes. And look, Donald Trump was accused of something, and you immediately saw mugshots, right? The only pictures we have of Hunter Biden are with oligarchs, Russian oligarchs, prostitutes, and with cocaine. And so, again, you see this 2-tier justice system. And so that's why, kudos to Comer with oversight and Jim Jordan with judiciary for not letting up the pedal to the metal and really trying to hold this family accountable. Because if you and I did a fraction of the things that Hunter Biden has done or the president has done, we'd both be in jail.
Well, I think I agree with you. I think most Americans, it's a pretty open shut case. I mean, he sort of confessed to doing all of this in a book that he wrote. So, all you got to do is bring him in and lay out the book and you've got it.
Well, and there's photographic evidence, like, where he took pictures and selfies. And I mean, really and truly, like if that were you or if that were myself and we did those things and we took those selfies, the FBI, the ATF would jerk us out of bed at 3 a.m. It would be open and shut. But because he's a Biden and he's had this wall of protection around him. Now, look, the powers that be do want Biden to be in the White House again because he is so disengaged, I'll be polite. They have a lot of control over policy in this country, right? But if you get another person, if you got a Gavin Newsom, of course he said it's not going to be him, then you don't necessarily have that same level of control. Now I'll make a prediction that who they're going to supplant Biden with is with Michelle Obama.
Okay, well, I'm glad you raised that because I want to let me hold on to that. I'll come back to that in just a moment. Okay. Now, on the floor of the House the other day, Matt Gaetz of Florida said the following.
On this very floor in January, the whole world witnessed a historic contest for House Speaker. I rise today to serve notice. Mr. Speaker, you are out of compliance with the agreement that allowed you to assume this role.
All right, so that's a pretty hard shot across the Speaker's bow. The Speaker, I understand, went behind closed doors with Republicans and said, if you want to try to vacate the chair, then I'll clean it up a little bit. Then you go ahead and try to do that. Yeah. So where are you? Are you with
exactly
Gaetz?
How it was said.
Well, I know, but this is a family show. So
that's right.
Who are you with on this? Are you with Gaetz, who says, you're out of compliance and we should vacate the chair? Or do you support Speaker McCarthy to continue in that role?
All right, so keep in mind, he hedges a little bit about talking about bringing you into compliance, and so we're currently we're debating the DoD defense appropriations. We have this talk of a continuing resolution, and quite frankly, there is going to be a shutdown. I'll make that's going to happen. The question is for how many days? And so what this does is create that leverage point of look, when you think back to the Speaker's fight, we agreed to a spending level, right? The conservatives, we pushed and we drove and we picked a number, or we got everybody to agree to a number. We have now surpassed that number. One of the things we fought for is the REINS Act, which is regulatory reform. As you see, all of these alphabet agencies controlling our lives, right? So the REINS Act, we were promised that. That didn't happen. You had the quote-unquote the five families. The five families, for your audience, are the five factions within the Republican caucus, the Freedom Caucus being one of them. The five families, we came together, we negotiated the Limit, Save, Grow piece of legislation, which was a decent piece of legislation. That didn't pass. Instead, over a holiday weekend, the leadership negotiated the FRA, the fiscal, what I call the Irresponsibility Act. And so all of these promises have been made, and quite frankly, most of them have not been delivered from a conservative standpoint. And so what we're doing is currently, and this is a good segue into the continuing resolution and DOD.
Wait. I ask you a specific question. Who are you supporting in this matter? Are you supporting Gates, who says that the speaker has not done enough, or are you supporting the speaker who says if you want to try to vacate the chair, then go ahead and give it a try?
Well, so two things. His comments, which there were cuss words involved in it, came from an emotional place, and I think in both of their cases, there's kind of this back and forth going on. I'm not going to get into the middle of that, but what I will say.
Well, no. I mean, but
hold on. Let me finish.
You might have to vote on it.
Well, I don't think it's going to come to that. In fact, I'm almost confident. Now, if I hear differently or if I think differently, I'll let you know. But what Gates is doing, Matt Gates is a friend of mine. He's actually coming to Nashville on Saturday. We're going to be together on Saturday. So that being said, is we're trying to hold leadership, and it's not just McCarthy, but leadership accountable to the promises that are made. Look, we're heading into a government shutdown. And the consequences of that, if we don't proceed the way we should as fiscal conservatives, is not good for the country. And so what we're going to do is fight for this fiscal conservatism. So I would agree with Matt that some of the promises that have been made haven't been delivered. We have time to fix that. As far as your
Matt
question
were to
about
take
McCarthy,
to the floor today and say, I want to call for a vote to vacate the chair,
that's premature.
How would you vote?
It's premature. Yeah, that's not going to happen.
All right, so you think you're not going to answer the question, basically?
No. What I'm saying is no. I would not support that today because it's premature.
All right, you wouldn't support it today because it's premature. All right, thanks
right.
for that. Now, go ahead and make your larger point. I'm sorry.
No, totally fine. I mean, hey, that's your job. Now you look forward to the continuing resolution. So what you have is, this week we were supposed to vote on defense appropriations. It's about 60% of the spending that we've got to get through, give or take, right? And we conservatives held out. Now look, we are for funding our military. We are funding this when we pass it, and we will pass it. It's going to have a pay raise for our enlisted soldiers. Quite frankly, it'll be a historic pay raise for our soldiers. But what we're doing is making sure that what passes takes out some of the wokeness that is infesting our military. What we're making sure happens is that we also pass, or if we pass a continuing resolution, that we also secure our border. And I put out a press release today saying, look, if we don't secure our border, there is no more funding. We're shutting it down. I was just at the southern border. Literally, our government has cut sections of the fence out roughly every, and I'm going to ballpark it here, roughly every quarter mile. So if you go to Arizona, you go south to the border, you've got miles and miles and miles of fence. Hundreds of millions of dollars spent on that wall, and our government has cut out sections. And I literally was able to walk into Mexico unfettered. I was able to walk around. Cartel spotters were on the hills. As I would walk into Mexico, they would pop up in the hills. And I was able to walk back into our country, and no one was around other than the cartel to watch me.
Wow, that's shocking. You want to go back to the Michelle Obama thing. You believe that ultimately Joe Biden will be ditched or will decide not to run, one or the other. And you believe that the nominee will ultimately be Michelle Obama. Tell me why.
Well, so there's a couple of things, and this kind of goes back to what Comer's doing in oversight and what Jim Jordan is doing in judiciary. Now that you have the prosecution now going after Hunter Biden, is he's going to cut a deal with his own party. He's going to have an exit strategy. And quite frankly, his polling numbers are historic lows. Kamala Harris's numbers, I mean, Biden's numbers are better than Kamala's. So that's saying something. He's literally has some of the worst polling numbers in recent modern history. That being said, so who is out there on the Democrat side that could put together a grassroots army and a fundraising mechanism that you could mount a presidential campaign in just a few short months? Who could unify their base? And there's one person that checks all those boxes, and that's Michelle Obama. Now, obviously, don't know Michelle. I can't speak for Michelle. I certainly would not support any Obama, quite frankly. But that being said, is that's what I predict is about to happen. And now you even have Nancy Pelosi, who is going to be in the know, if you will, hedging that Biden may not be the nominee. And so it would not surprise me that on his way out the door that he is pardoning his family and his son, and there's a golden parachute there for his family. And look, that's totally logical, but again, if you're the powers that be that are controlling Biden and quite frankly running the country, you're going to want to keep him in power. So it'll be interesting to unfold. And I will say there are some kind of artificial deadlines out there because to qualify for, I do believe it's the Nevada caucus, that deadline is in October. So I think you're going to have to start seeing someone making a move, I would think, relatively soon.
Yeah, I agree that time is running out, but I want to take issue, though. I mean, I'll make you a friendly wager.
Okay.
that I don't think. I mean, I think you're right. I think that it will not be Joe Biden, but I'm pretty sure. My gut feeling tells me it's not going to be Michelle Obama. Because when I covered the Obama administration in Washington when I was there, it was universally the general sense was that she hated every moment she was in the White House, and she wasn't shy about telling anybody about it. She detested being in the White House. She swore she would never step back in the White House, and to my knowledge, I don't know that she has. So I'm just sort of curious, if it's not Michelle Obama, whom it might be, but I'm willing to make a friendly wager that it won't be Michelle Obama. What do you say?
Well, sure, absolutely. But I will say, I mean, they still have a residence here in D.C., and I do believe the Obamas are the only kind of presidential family that's remained or had close ties to D.C. the way they have relative to the Bush or the Clintons or anybody else. And so, I mean, that's kind of the devil's advocate. I mean, you've had Gavin Newsom say that it's not going to be him. Kamala, if you're Kamala Harris, you want it to be you. You have Gretchen Whitmer out there.
That's not going to work, yeah. And
that's right. Only Whitmer, you and I know who she is, right? But
yeah,
so,
right.
And so they don't have a deep bench when it comes to who has that national profile. Now, if you're a political consultant and you're consulting the Democrats, the person that could probably save your party would be Kennedy because he can run up the middle, if you will, but they'll never choose someone like him because he's not as woke and not as radical, which is saying a lot, as kind of the squad is.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out. And you're right. I think we are getting close to the point where if there's going to be a change made, it's got to be made. Well, listen, Andy, it's Congressman Ogles. It's always good to have you on the program. Thank you so much for joining us. Please come back anytime.
Yes, sir. I appreciate it very much. And I will say, I mean, I'll forewarn everybody, there's going to be a fight over the budget. There is going to be a shutdown of the government. But that being said, if the government's shut down for a few days, it's just a pause. You're still going to get your Social Security checks. Our veterans are going to still get paid their benefits. I mean, all of those things are still going to happen. But meanwhile, we're fighting. We're fighting to secure this border and keep fentanyl and illegals out of our country.